All right. Today we're going to be talking about the psychology of the fifth house in astrology, giving you the full meaning explained. First, we're going to go through the components, the different aspects of the fifth house, breaking it down to its more bare bones components or details. So you have a more thorough understanding of what the fifth house represents in your life from a psychological perspective, internal perspective. And then we're going to go through the qualities, how to evaluate the fifth house in your life to see how it's operating. From an astrological point of view, though, you could also just hear what I'm saying, and if it applies to your life, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, that is also an amazing way to assess if you have a healthy or unhealthy fifth house, okay? But first, Dharma and succedent. So fifth house is a Dharma house. Dharma is, as I said before, in the first house, it's our nature. It's our being. It is our state of flow. It is the alignment with our true self. And by true self, I mean our most natural and effortless state of being. Like when you see a fish swimming in water or a dolphin swimming in water, they're doing their dharma. When you see a tiger going for the hunt and killing some form of animal, whatever it may be in front of its path, that is its dharma. When we see a cheetah running, sprinting very fast, or a gazelle hopping across the plain, that is them performing their dharma, because animals naturally perform their dharma. They don't have to think about it. They don't have the different parts of themselves conflicting or fighting like humans do, because we have self-awareness and self-consciousness and free will. So we have the ability to not do our dharma if we so choose. And another thing to understand about dharma is that it is when we're in our element. Because if you look at this, if you notice, so this is 159 are the Dharma houses. You also see with the other elements, Taurus is 1, 5, and 9 from the other earth signs. And then air, same thing, Libra, Aquarius, or Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. They're all 1, 5, 9 from each other. All the elements are 1, 5, 9 from each other, which gives you a hint, a deeper look, understanding of what Dharma means, which is when one person is in their element. And finally, the most important signification or thing to understand when it comes to Dharma, it is all about the self, your path, your purpose, your meaning, your Dharma, your being, your natural state of flow. It's all about the individual self. The natural first, fifth, ninth signs are fire signs for a reason. Dharma houses align with that fire, that spirit, that vitality that inspires you to move forward and to live your life as you decide. That's the fire, that's the Dharma. Succedent is also part of the fifth house. These are the solid security houses, the fixed houses. 2, 5, 8, 11. So you have this security, stability, consistency, steadfastness, solid. That is these succedent houses. And so when you synthesize, when you bring them together, you get self-security, or security, stability, consistency in one's dharma, in one's purpose, in one's individuality, in one's self. Having a strong core self. Fifth house represents your core self, your internal fire. It is the source of your light, your strength, your vitality, your energy, aligned with Leo, the fifth sign, and also the sun. Okay? And when it comes to planets being in the fifth house, well, the fifth house is fortunate. It's a fortunate house. And it can signify blessings from past lives. And we're going to get into that in a second. But I do want to journey around the zodiac because we've been doing it before, so I want to be consistent with it. So you get an idea in the first house. You start your journey in the first house. You were born, birthed into this world. You then have the second house, which is more about responsibility, security, material security, laying down a solid foundation, the second house. Then you improve upon that base, that solid foundation that began with that inspiration, that idea, that vision, that vitality of the self. You improve upon it, gain skills, develop it, cultivate it, if you will. In the fourth house, you then start to bring into your emotions. How do you feel about this thing? As you're developing your skills, as you're learning about it, as you're developing yourself as well in the process, you start to become aware of emotions and taking different actions, moving different directions, angle house, based off your emotions, how you feel. Once you feel good about something. Ideally, you move to the fifth house, and then you have a solid identification with that thing. Brings emotional peace, contentment, introspection. Through that, you have an emotional identification, fifth house, with that thing, which makes you secure in self. You become secure in that thing because it's part of your identity. It doesn't have to be in the physical space. Second house is more material, more external. This is internal. This is a part of your core identity. So you can have the identity, the core confidence in your ability to write, or your ability to play a sport, or to communicate, or to love other people. Things of that nature. You have a core identity that is consistent. So when you have planets there, usually they are fortunate in the fact that they come naturally. There's not a lot of friction. Dharma or trine houses is another way of looking at them too. Trine is the same thing as Dharma. They're fortunate. They unravel, they manifest smoothly. Okay? When you have angles, hard angles, oppositions, conjunctions, squares, they're going to manifest with more effort, action. Okay? And then the cadent houses are going to manifest through learning and development. You're holding on to it, second house. And then third house, you're developing on it. Fifth house, solid in your core identity. So these planets are part of your core identity. They're part of who you are. They are harder to change and manipulate and maneuver with your free will because they are more enduring. They're more solid, or they're the most solid part of your identity. This is the most changeable, movable, malleable first house parts of your identity that come in as soon as you're born, but there's a lot of action you take with them, and so they change over time. Movable, changeable houses. Leo's more fixed, so it's going to be more solid. The fifth house, aligned with the fifth sign Leo, is more fixed, more solid, more persistent, and consistent over time when it's healthy. So planets there are going to be more consistent. They're going to be more stable. They can also be based off past lives because fifth house has that signification. So these are things that you have a lot of experience with. These are planets that you have a lot of, let's say, karmic energy, and usually they're beneficial because the fifth house is our natural state. It is our natural joy. It's aligned with a planet I'm going to say later when we talk about the evaluation aspect, but our natural joy, our natural fortune, our luck, our prosperity, our creativity, and the creative intelligence we get from higher dimensions of existence. You might be able to assume what planet I'm going to refer to when it becomes the natural significator or producer of the fifth house, based off of all these indications I'm saying. So these are fortunate houses, and they lead to fortune, and they lead to your confidence, and they lead to your solid sense of identity and creativity and creative expression. Now, moving over to qualities, what does a healthy fifth house look like? A healthy fifth house looks like confidence, secure in self, self-security, secure in oneself, solid in oneself, able to express themselves as an individual, knowing who they are, having a solid core identity that is consistent and not changeable dependent on the environment or dependent on the external influences. A more solid personality, that is a healthy personality. Not a pathological personality that is solid. That could be afflictions. We'll get to that in a second. But a solid fifth house or a solid identity. And this is why having good planets or a healthy fifth house is so amazing, is because it's more enduring. It's less changeable. So if it's good, it's going to stay good easier. But that can also, there's a flip side. It becomes harder to change if it's unhealthy. Still got to do the work. It's just going to be more difficult, take more time, be more persistent. And that's the case with all the succedent or fixed houses. Angles are the easiest to change because that's where all the action's happening. So if you have some afflictions there, you have some difficulties there, it's going to be a lot easier to develop or to take actions, take tangible steps, conscious steps to ameliorate, to improve your situation. But healthy fifth house is somebody who's confident, who can look themselves in the mirror and feel good about themselves, or who does things even when people are not looking. They feel confident in themselves because they stick by the promises they make to themselves and other people. All right? So it is that ability to trust oneself because they know they're going to show up for themselves every day with consistency and steadfastness. Therefore, the unhealthy fifth house is going to look like the exact opposite, which is insecure, very malleable in one's core identity based off of the external environment or the external influences, somebody who might require more social validation, somebody who might have negative past life karma coming over. Or the past life karma that has come over might be beneficial, but less persistent or less available to access. And somebody who will not feel solid in their place or be able to identify with something. And if they do identify with something, it could be an unhealthy thing, right? Just because you have a solid core identity, like I said before, doesn't mean that it's necessarily a beneficial thing, a healthy thing. Is this thing sustainable? Is it supportive of life? Does it support yourself and other people around you? Then it's healthy. If it's destructive to yourself, involving self-sabotage, if it is harming other people or causing chaos and dissent and disorder, well, then it's unhealthy. Now, it's not even necessarily even a moralistic judgment. It's just a descriptor. Okay? And with the fifth house, again, it can be difficult. So if it's unhealthy, it's going to take more conscious effort, more time, more energy across space and time to change it. And so evaluating it, well, you could just look at your life. I mean, if you're feeling insecure, feeling more prone to adjusting your identity and who you are and how you present yourself, how you express yourself based off the external environment because you have that psychological insecurity, well, then there's something going on with your fifth house that needs to be healed. And if the opposite, you feel like you're steadfast, you feel like you're confident, you feel like you have a solid idea of who you are, you identify with things, your dharma, your path, your individual nature, naturally, well, then you probably have a good fifth house. Or maybe not. And you figured it out regardless, because we all have free will and the chart is not deterministic, which I have to make sure I remind people consistently, myself included. So for evaluation, you want to look at the fifth house, obviously. You want to look at planets in the fifth house. You want to look at the Lord to evaluate the sign that is holding the fifth house cusp or the fifth sign in the chart, if you're doing a whole sign. And then finally, you want to look at Jupiter, as I mentioned before, fortune, luck, creativity, creative expression. You want to look at Jupiter to assess the quality. If the house, the Lord, and Jupiter are all in good shape, those are clear indications of a healthy fifth house, of somebody who is solid in their dharma, solid in their path. They're not going to waver based off of temptation or because they don't feel like it. They're just going to be consistently moving towards their purpose, their destiny, their way, which is another way of saying dharma. And if not, if those are afflicted, there's some difficulties. I mean, the average person has a mix and match, the most important being the house and the Lord, and then Jupiter coming third in importance. But we all, generally have a mix. And also you could even incorporate aspects. They matter the least out of all of them, but you can still use that as well. We all have a mix. No one's perfectly confident. No one is perfectly insecure unless you are enlightened when it comes to being perfectly confident. But evaluate your life. Look at your chart, see what's going on, and see how it affects you moving forward. And if you feel like you're not too solid on your path, well, then it's time to look at the fifth house and see what is afflicted. Work on yourself. Do the work to develop yourself because you have that ability. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or want to share your experience, if you relate or don't relate, more than happy to reply to your comments and talk with you down below. And in the next video, we're going to be doing the psychology of the sixth house as we move along the series, move along the entire house chart. Thanks.